This week on The Watchman, welcome to the U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem. This is the place where history was made, where it continues to be made every day. And this week, we're joined by the man of the hour, Ambassador David Friedman, who shares with us what it's like to lead the U.S. Embassy here in Jerusalem, to work for President Trump with his bold vision for the Middle East, and how the U.S.-Israel relationship is growing stronger every day. It's an exclusive inside look at the place where history was made. This week on The Watchman, only with Christians United for Israel, only right here on TBN from the U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem, where it belongs. Ambassador Friedman, thank you so much for having us here at the U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem. It feels so good to say that.
Yeah, it really does. Thanks, Eric.
It does, yeah. Great to be with you again. Well, you've been open here a few months in your new digs in Jerusalem. How's it going? How's the transition going here at the embassy?
Well, the transition's been great. I think it's 4 months to the day since we opened at that great ceremony that you were at.
Of course.
We are transitioning more and more every day. We're going to break ground in about a week and a half. That will probably double the office space here. But meanwhile, we have about 150 people already working here. We're processing visas and passports. We're having diplomatic operations here. I'm meeting people here. As you can see, I have a fully functioning office and staff.
There's a buzz here, Ambassador. There's people. There are people around. People. It's a busy place. It's buzzing with activity.
It's buzzing, and it's also become one of the great tourist spots in Jerusalem. You know, you can get out to the front without too much difficulty. People stop by and they see the plaque and they see the American seal, and a lot of people stop here. They take pictures, and more than that, you know, I've seen people praying here. I've seen people crying here. The emotions that you see here when people come visit are really moving. We have an embassy open in Jerusalem, and that's just something that I kind of thank God every day that we were able to accomplish this with the President's direction.
President Trump has said, okay, Jerusalem is now off the table when we're talking peace negotiations, a potential peace deal with the Palestinians. Jerusalem is off the table. This is the capital of Israel. The Palestinian refugee issue now is in some respects off the table as well, now that the Trump administration has cut funding to UNRWA, that UN arm dedicated to funding Palestinian refugees. Talk about the thinking behind that very important decision.
The laws that pertain to almost everybody in life are that you make your choices and you're held accountable for your choices. That rule, that kind of fundamental rule of physics, has not really been applied to the Palestinians over the last 50 or so years. You know, we give them money and they act in ways that are unhelpful, in some cases reprehensible, and certainly not conducive to making peace with the Israelis. I think Jared made this point in the New York Times that, you know, financial aid is not an entitlement, it's a privilege. And you have to be accountable for your actions. And the Palestinian conduct over the last, not under the Trump administration, but over the last 50 years, has not been of a nature that merits financial aid. It's really as simple as that. The United States is not giving out money to people that pay stipends to terrorists and their families. It's just untenable. And so I think from the perspective of everyone in the Trump administration, we see something that's not working. We find it difficult to justify the expenditure of funds from hard-working American taxpayers.
Taxpayer dollars.
We're not seeing the value there to the national interest, and so we're stopping it. It's not that there's a lack of desire to provide financial aid to the Palestinians under the right set of circumstances, but those circumstances just aren't there right now.
Yeah, it seems like in the past, under previous administrations, perhaps, Ambassador, there was severe pressure on Israel to make constant concessions and not much pressure on the Palestinian Authority. But it seems like now the U.S. has a more even-handed policy of also holding the Palestinians accountable.
I completely agree with you. I think the perspective that I've read that somehow the U.S. is punishing the Palestinians and bending over backwards towards Israel it's only an argument you can make by reference to historical flaws in the past. We're trying to bring things back to equilibrium. We're not trying to advantage any side, but what we're asking from both sides is you have to act in a manner that's conducive to peace and supports our own national interests before you get money. Now, the Israelis have been incredible friends. They've been incredible allies. They help keep our homeland safe. They provide great value to the American taxpayer. I don't think we can say that right now with regard to the Palestinians. We hope it changes.
And the PLO, Palestine Liberation Organization mission in Washington, D.C., has also closed. Trump administration announced that. Very important move as well.
Sure. And that, apart from being the right policy decision, was one that we really had no choice because it was mandated by Congress. The PLO mission is only permitted to be open under circumstances that are prescribed by statute, one of which is that the Palestinians are not seeking to prosecute Israelis at the International Criminal Court. And last year at the UN General Assembly, Mahmoud Abbas got up and he spoke in perhaps the largest audience in the world and said, we're trying to prosecute Israelis at the International Criminal Court. Under those circumstances, how can you possibly keep the mission open? It makes a mockery of the laws of the United States.
You mentioned also those Palestinian Authority payments to the families of terrorists who have American blood on their hands as well. How does that continue to be an impediment to peace?
It may be the largest impediment to peace. I'll give you an example of where I found this really disturbing. This past year, there was a Palestinian man who was suicidal. His wife had left him with 5 children, couldn't support his family, and he was distraught. But he had, to the best of everyone's knowledge, no ideological views at all, no hostility to Israelis per se. What did he do? He went into a Jewish community and he killed 2 Israelis, in the course of which he was himself killed. Now, why did he do that? He did that because there was a law that will now provide his family with funding for life.
For life.
For life. Now, what a horrible, cynical, antisocial law that is. Yeah. And it just can't continue.
When I think of larger threats, not only to Israel, but to the United States, I'm thinking of Iran. President Trump pulled out of that disastrous nuclear deal. It seems like the pressure is being turned up on that Iranian regime as well by the Trump administration.
Yeah, the sanctions are growing. They're being implemented. And Ambassador Bolton recently spoke about how those sanctions are going to be increased even further. We're optimistic that those sanctions are going to take hold. And, even the Jerusalem decision itself, I think, sent a great message to our enemies around the world. That America will stand with its friends, that the president will do what he says he's going to do, regardless of what pressure may come from the EU or the United Nations. And so I think not only is the policy working, but I think the president, in contrast to some of his predecessors, has the type of credibility that presidents haven't had in the past to really, I think, strengthen the U.S. policy here.
Yeah, there's not just carrots, there's actually credible sticks. Yes. Being used by President Trump. I think of a former president, Ronald Reagan, who talked about peace through strength. Yes. It seems like the Trump administration has a similar tack on it. The U.S.-Israel relationship, you talked about it. I would argue it's never been stronger than it is right now. Can you talk about the cooperation? But also, and you mentioned this earlier, how the relationship benefits not only Israel, but the United States as well.
First of all, the commercial relationship is a lot more than people understand. Israel is one of the, I think it's number 2 in terms of public companies traded on NASDAQ. And on a more kind of fundamental basis, they help keep us safe because they have eyes on threats that threaten the United States in ways that very much help us. So without getting into specifics, there have been threats to the homeland, to the American homeland, that have been averted because of Israeli cooperation with the United States. That's very different than it was a generation ago. And so our national interests with regard to Israel have kind of morphed from being, we have similar values or almost identical values and beliefs to, in addition to all that, it's in our own, personal interests to make sure that Israel is strong because it helps us in kind of basic and important ways.
In arguably the most important region in the world in many ways. Ambassador, it feels like Israel is the first line of defense for the West, on the front lines, in the belly of the beast, so to speak.
Yeah, and that's also where we get so much value from Israel. Look, we have massive facilities in Asia, in Germany. Israel provides us with all this incredible support, intelligence, security cooperation, military cooperation, and we don't have any soldiers at risk in Israel. So the value to the United States is very significant. We get a lot for our money here.
You've just seemed to have struck up such a great relationship with evangelical leaders in the United States. Our founder and chairman, Pastor John Hagee, you guys have a special relationship. Talk about your experience in the evangelical community over these past few years in particular. It seems like a very special bond that you've developed.
Well, I have such great respect for the community. Pastor Hagee has become a great friend. He brought down the house at the embassy opening. His closing benediction was truly stirring, one that I'll never forget. To live a good life, you identify 3, 4, 5 things that you believe in, that you're not flexible about, that you're not negotiable about, that you think are important and just and moral, and you live your life on the basis of a few foundational principles. And that's what the community does, and that's why I think we're so attracted to each other. I think we see the world the same way.
Well, I think you're going to show us around your new digs here at the embassy right now, so
be happy to.
Let's take a look.
Great.
Up next, Ambassador Friedman shares why one particular Bible story has deep meaning for his mission. And later, join us as we tour the grounds of the newly opened U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem. You won't want to miss it. Don't move.
In 1948, Israel was reborn as a nation. The last 7 decades have been miraculous. Despite all the wars, all the terrorism, and all the sacrifice, Israel has thrived. The people of Israel are alive and well. God kept his promises to the descendants of Abraham. Christians United for Israel has put together a small booklet to inspire and empower you about Israel's past, present, and future.
The rebirth of modern Israel is one of the greatest miracles of the last century. CUFI's Israel at 70 booklet is an invaluable resource for anyone interested in how Israel has survived and thrived despite overwhelming challenges. Call Christians United for Israel at 210-477-4714 or go to cufi.org/watchman to receive your free Israel at 70 booklet.
Ambassador, this is a very interesting picture here. It looks like astronaut outfits, I guess you would say. What do we have here?
So this was given to me by Rona Ramon. She's the wife of Ilan Ramon, who was the Israeli astronauts who flew with Americans on the Space Shuttle Columbia, which, as you know, was blew up on re-entry. Yeah. And so these are the spacesuits, and you see an American flag, an Israeli flag, and then a series of American flags. These were the spacesuits, and this was just before they suited up and boarded the shuttle. And it's just, to me, a very moving picture because, unfortunately, we know how the story ends.
Right.
Also, just to see the American flag alongside the Israeli flag is it's a good visual of just how close our countries are.
Again, that unbreakable bond.
Yes.
Now, this is special.
Yeah, this
right
was
here.
so. This is kind of diplomatic speak, but the formalities are that I wrote a letter to the Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs requesting permission to move our embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. And you see it's dated February 27th, 2018. Notwithstanding all the bureaucracy that we typically face, we got a response back a few hours later, from the Israelis saying, please, it's our pleasure. So
You cut right through the red tape there.
we certainly did, yes.
Yeah, this is a piece of history right now.
Yep.
Now, when we walked in the office, I was struck right away by this beautiful painting on your wall. Can we take a walk over? Maybe you
Sure.
can tell us about
Sure.
it.
So, first of all, we got lots of opportunities to display artwork because I suppose for artists it's good for business to lend us artwork. So we had lots of choices. I saw this. It was painted by a woman about 90 years old, and this is why it spoke to me. This is a scene.
She was 90 when she painted this?
90 when she painted it, yeah. And this is a scene of the 12 spies that Moses had sent out to do some reconnaissance on the land of Israel before it was conquered, right? And here they are returning from the land of Israel back to the tabernacle in the wilderness. And as you know the story is that two of the spies, Joshua and Caleb, reported back that the land was that we'd be able to conquer the land. We, the people of Israel, would conquer the land. The other 10 spies said, we can't do it.
There's giants in the land.
They're giants. The people are too big. They're too strong.
Yeah.
And just to bring back proof of, they brought back this oversized produce to show just what kind of fruit these giants were eating, to show proof. I guess they couldn't bring back a giant. They brought back the next best thing to prove it. But this was a great sin. God extended the Israelites' exile in the wilderness another 40 years because of this sin. Now, what was the sin? Right? You would think if it was a sin, they must have lied, right? But they didn't lie, right? They brought back, in fact, proof that there were real challenges to conquering the land of Israel. So what was
But trust in God.
What was the sin? The sin was that they lacked the vision, they lacked the faith, they lacked the confidence to fulfill God's will and to come back and to do what God had promised. So what is this? How does this relate to me? So when I saw this, I said to myself, look, I've committed, I'm sure, many sins in the past, and undoubtedly
Join the club.
will commit sins in the future. The one sin I hope not to commit on this job is the sin of lacking faith, confidence, or vision. And this reminds me of that, and that's why it spoke to me. Apart from, it's a beautiful painting, it's colorful, but that really is the message that I took from it.
I think we're going to go outside now and kind of walk around the premises, see that iconic seal from the opening ceremony. So,
My
Ambassador,
pleasure.
lead the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
This year, 25 countries were represented at the 2018 CUFI Washington, D.C. Summit, the most ever in our 13-year history. They came and joined over 5,000 others in our nation's capital as we continue to stand in solidarity with Israel and the Jewish people. They celebrated and rejoiced at the annual Night to Honor Israel. At 4.3 million members, CUFI is the largest, most diverse pro-Israel organization in the nation. For Zion's sake, we will not keep silent. And for Jerusalem's sake, we will not be quiet. From near and far, we are one. From all over the world, we are united. We are CUFI.
As you see, the views here are beautiful.
Incredible. You have the palm trees here, very nice, and the expansion is kind of beginning, right?
Yeah, so we are standing right now. All of this is going to get dug up in the next week or two, and we're going to be building from that wall all the way out to that corner, and then we're going to make a right, and we're going to build all the way up to that gazebo over there. Gotcha. And we're going to really double the size of the office space. We have lots of space here. That building over there is the Diplomat Hotel, which we take title to in another year or two. So, excellent. I mean, just look how much space we have here.
Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful. It is a large compound.
Great location. It really is a great location.
It's a central location. And you have people coming through here constantly, Ambassador, diplomats from around the world.
Yeah. And
it's buzzing with activity, like we said earlier.
We welcome them all. I mean, it's great to see ambassadors and heads of state come here. And I think that there will be, over the course of the next year or two, other countries announcing a move.
That's something I wanted to ask you about. Look, we've had Guatemala, we've had some other nations, Eastern Europe talking about it. There may be a kind of a domino effect here that the United States started.
I think there will be. I think that a number of countries right now are going through their processes and thinking it through. I've had unsolicited calls from ambassadors from other countries, diplomats from other countries. We've talked it through, and I think we're going to see not just one or two, but maybe as many as 10 or 15 over the next 12 to 18 months.
In spending time with you over the past few years, it seems that, man, this energizes you, and you're right where you belong.
It does, and I compare this to when I used to practice law, and the alarm clock would go off at 6 a.m. and I hit the snooze button once, twice, 3 times. I don't hit the snooze button anymore. I can't wait to wake up in the morning and get to work, and it's a privilege every day. I have to remind myself how lucky I am every day. I thank the President every day for this opportunity, and there's a lot more to do.
Real quick, tell us about your family. Look, 7 grandchildren, you were telling me, 5 children. Your daughter just made Aliyah.
Yes.
You even have a 16-year-old here.
Yeah, so we have 5 kids. The 3 oldest are married. They've produced so far, and I emphasize so far, 7 grandchildren. Hopefully they're not done. And the 2 youngest are living in Israel. And my 4th child, she made Aliyah. She mastered medical Hebrew, which is different than just conversational Hebrew. And she's now a practicing nurse in a hospital in Tel Aviv. And our youngest is in high school here, and we're.
You said she's loving it. Your 16-year-old.
She is loving it. She goes to a great school. She's loving it, and and we're back and forth all the time. It's hard to be away from the kids that are in the States, but they're here. Some of them are here now. Some of them are coming. We see each other. Hopefully every 6 weeks or so.
Now, you mentioned Hebrew, Ambassador. You are fluent in Hebrew, and you know some biblical Hebrew as well.
I do. Well, that's how I learned Hebrew, from studying the Bible in its original language, and it's it's worth the effort. Maybe you and I can sit down. I can show you some of the nuances you get from reading the Bible in its original.
I would love that.
It doesn't always come through when translated, and it just provides good insights and perspectives.
He's not only the ambassador, folks, he's also a walking Rosetta Stone. So I'd love to sit down with you. Well, hey, the sun's beating down here on a beautiful day in Jerusalem. Let's go check out the seal.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Let's do it. Ambassador, after you. Thank you.
In spring 2019, join Holocaust survivor and historian Irving Roth on a once-in-a-lifetime remembrance tour through Poland. His story of loss, survival, and hope will bring the pages of history to life as you walk through the streets of the infamous Warsaw Ghetto, the silent barracks of Nazi death camps like the one where Irving slept at Auschwitz, and the memorials to the heroes who risked their lives to rescue their Jewish neighbors from Hitler's evil plan. You'll be inspired and challenged to put your faith into action. You'll have the opportunity to interact with the local Polish Jewish community and meet with the daughter of a famous hero of the Holocaust, one of the righteous among the nations honored by the State of Israel. Take advantage of this rare opportunity to walk with and learn from Irving Roth as he takes you on a journey of his memories of life before, during, and after the Holocaust. To register for this historic trip to Poland with CUFI and Irving Roth, go to the CUFI website and sign up today.
Well, Ambassador, I think it's fitting that we end today at the place where it really all began. here at the Seal. This is the iconic place that everyone is talking about. People are taking selfies here. Tell us a bit more about it.
Well, it's the Seal.
It's the Seal.
It's the,
what else can you say?
It's the plaque that lets everybody know that this is the U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem.
Yeah.
It lets everybody know whose decision it was to do this, President Donald J. Trump. I'm fortunate enough to have my name on it as well. It's something that
you're part of history.
I will always be incredibly grateful for. And it's made of, as the president is now recognized, a beautiful Jerusalem stone.
Yeah.
Jerusalem stone is really special. And the president is a builder. He's built all these incredible skyscrapers. He's had access to all building materials. And I think the president himself recognizes just how beautiful Jerusalem stone is.
It's interesting because tour groups are coming here now.
Yep.
And everyone wants a shot next to the Seal.
Yeah, they're taking pictures with it day and night. We have a duplicate.
It's become a tourist destination.
We have another one of these in the front, which is easier to get to. And people come, they take pictures, and as I said, some of them pray, some of them cry. It's very moving.
Yeah, well, Ambassador, thank you so much. We are moved to be here with you today. You're a great host, as always. Thank you for your hospitality and for having us here at the U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem. Hopefully we'll be back with you very soon. Ambassador, thank you so much.
Well, you're welcome here anytime. Thanks.
Thank you. God bless you, Ambassador.
God bless you too. Thank you so much.
What a thrill it was to be here today with Ambassador David Friedman for an exclusive inside look at the brand new U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem. It still feels so good to say that. 2 Chronicles says that this city is the place where God has chosen to write his name forever. So as an American, it's a very special thing to know that the United States has also written its name forever in the history books right here in Jerusalem. Well, thanks for joining us this week from the place where history was made. Until next time, God bless you. And remember, never hold your peace.